Hi and welcome to another sizzling episode of your Enlightened podcast. I remain one of your sailor on this ship, and with me are two amazing sailors with impeccable track record of true professionalism. Together with you, our ardent listener, will be steering this ship to an harbor. Hi, Sam.
So I don't know how to swim. It's what that
Don't
was.
worry. There's life jackets, so that when you swim like this, you swim to the other end.
Okay, my name is Angel. Hi, my name is Cynthia.
All right. So on today's episode, we'll be talking about something that has been, being a concern for a lot of us. I said a lot of us because I have been there. Some of you are there right now. Some of you have passed it. Some of you are still experiencing it. And we're discussing the fear of career choice. When you talk about fear, what comes to play? What comes to your mind? Fear, we all know, is an emotion that is, built from you not knowing the next outcome, the next action for events that might want to occur. So we'll be talking about fear of career choice. All right. So when we talk about fear, Miss Angel, what comes to play?
Fear. Fear is simply lack of knowledge, because if you know, you won't be so afraid. Most times people are just afraid of the unknown. In short, I will say generally. If you don't know, you'll be afraid. If it's something you've never encountered before, your imagination starts to play games with you, and you won't even, because of what you've built in your head, what you think it would be, it's never positive. You end up not making certain decisions. You're overthinking, over analyzing, and it's just something that's in the head. It's never actually whatever plays out. And in most cases, even if it somehow plays out a bit, it's not ever entirely what one has imagined. So fear is just not knowing. It's just the lack of knowledge.
So when you're saying lack of knowledge, let's tie it to this vocational thing. For example, as a child, you have this beautiful ideology of what you have painted what your future would look like. So I think you have different kind of opinion that might be, suitable to your position at that point in time. And then some years after, let's say you're in school, or yes, you're about to finish, you're seeing another thing. Okay, let me take it back to when you were young, like a toddler, at that. Then when you get to your teenage level, there's this confusion. So that's that fear, that's confusion. How do we harness it at that point in time? All right, so Cynthia.
So, generally speaking, I always believe that fear is a psychological thing. It's what plays out in your head and in your mind. And so there's actually, so if you now narrow it down to career choices, I think it's a condition. I can't really remember what the particular condition is called. It's a phobia. So people generally have a fear of making career choices, and it's a psychological thing, and there are different fears that you can attribute to this psychological condition or issue. And like you said, it can start from the very young age, So maybe when you're deciding as a child or as a teenager what you want to be in the future. you might be confused. You might have the fear of making the wrong choice or making the wrong decision of, okay, if I choose to study this one now, what if I end up studying it and it ends up taking me, or I end up not actualizing what I really want to get in the future, or what I want in the future. So the fear might actually start from there, and then it starts to play with your psychological reasoning. So I believe one is fear of making the wrong choice. I think that's the first one. When you are scared, or you have this fear of going the wrong path, or choosing the wrong career, or deviating from what you want and end up making a mistake that you might not be able to correct. Or you might even have the fear of living in regret, because when you make the wrong choice, you end up living in regret. Had I known? If I'd known, I'll have taken this path. This would have turned up like this. My life would have turned up like this. If I became a doctor instead of reading law, becoming a lawyer, my life would have taken a better route. It would have been easier for me to travel out and, pursue my career. You start living in regret. That's also a fear. I don't want to, I have this fear of choosing this career, so I don't get to regret it in future. So that's,
Actually, if I could get what you're trying to say right now, the uncertainty of, the future, most at times, yes, is it induce this fear?
You can use the word induce. You can also uncertainty of the future. It's also part of the fear that of making career choices. Uncertainty, mistakes, making the wrong choice. These are all part of it, because, like we say, we don't know what tomorrow holds. So we are very uncertain of if this decision we make right now, what is going to yield for our tomorrow. Is it going to profit me? Is it going to benefit me? Will I enjoy it? Is it what I really want to do? So sometimes we are so uncertain that we end up not even making any decision at the end of the day. It's either we end up not making a decision, or we end up even making the wrong decision. So that's it.
If I could take us back to one of the previous episode, that's as a child, we have this illusion, and then we believe that life will be beautiful. Life will always be, rosy. Once we just make the decision, the answer is already there, because everything is being set for us and everything. So why is this not aligning with the current reality as an adult in career paths, in career choices?
As children, because everything was provided for, we didn't put into consideration the aspect of really growing up. For us, growing up was more about freedom. Nobody would tell me what to do, when to sleep, what to eat, and all of that. So whatever we saw on TV, we were like, I want to be a princess. We don't know the real deal behind being a princess. So, I want to be a president. You don't know the real deal behind being a president. I want to be a president's wife. You don't know the real deal behind being a president's wife. So all of these things, though we knew, okay, at some point in our lives, we'll have to make a decision on what we want to do, but we never really knew what was behind it, or what is behind it to get to that point. So, but the thing is, as children, of course, we always have the imagination, but as each time we kept getting older, we now finally realized that, okay, there's some work you have to do, even just moving from one class to the other, and it keeps getting harder. Like, I was afraid to go off. I didn't know what secondary school was going to be like. I was afraid. I thought I wouldn't be able to pass. I was like, this thing is hard, because, primary school work was easy. Even at a point when I was primary school, I knew that prep school work was easy compared to what you're facing now. Because by the time they introduced, I liked algebra. By the time I was in primary 5, primary 6, I liked algebra. But when they now introduced further maths, I was like, And there was things that this secondary school. No.
Not formula.
As in, I was like, what? What is this? By the time I entered secondary school, they were now bringing some kind of subjects. I was like, why is it no more home science? What is integrated science? Why is this one? Why am I drawing a human being? Why am I drawing a reproductive system? Why do I need to, like, it was getting complex, but just as I was getting used to JS class.
Yeah.
Yes,
You have a higher level.
SS1 was right there in front of me. Let me tell you how much I prepared for it. During the JSS3 break, for us to now resume as SS1 students, I was in my cousin's place, brought out his physics textbook, his biology textbook,
my God.
his chemistry textbook, and I told him, you're going to teach me and prepare because I don't know. I want to be a science student. And this is I love science. So I just believed, yes, I'm going to be a science student. I'm not going to be an art student because I thought art was play. I don't know. I could make something out of it. But I thought, okay, science. I was preparing myself. No, at least I read like one chapter. By the time we got to physics, I was like, this is not going to be my best friend. So I knew chemistry and biology I was going to be cool with that. So it was just things that I was imagining that wasn't a big deal. In short, and I believe because that fear was there, it shook me a bit by the time I started school because I was just seeing things, and instead of it was a student teaching me. Student that was still a student that was teaching me. You don't know how to teach me. So what are you teaching me? Instead of me to wait for the actual teachers. So there are lots of things that were confusing me at first, but with time I got used to it and I had the understanding and all of that. But you see that thing with your head, like it still got to me even up until entering university because I was like, okay, this one is not like ringing a bell, bang, you're wearing uniform.
You see class.
Like it's a serious mental work because I'm like, how do they do it? You go for lectures, you take your notes yourself. Like, how would you know what to read? Like,
when you're not giving anything.
Like, how do you just see people walking with books and say they're going to school? Like, it did have your typical primary school, secondary school setting. It was a different ball game entirely. I was like, no, I can't do university. Like, each phase, it was all in my head until I got into it. I was like, oh, okay, so it's not as bad as I thought. Like, the challenge was there. So, talking about career, by the time you've faced all this one, when you now say, yeah, time for you to now decide what you want to do with your life. Yeah. I'm supposed to decide what do I want to do. I don't know. Do I want to be a doctor? By the time you now hear that doctors don't sleep because and yeah, there are people who have come out successfully.
Yeah.
It's not like there wasn't any challenge, but you see the overthinking and overanalyzing and painting pictures in your head you have nothing about, like nothing about, what has made a lot of people not take steps at all.
Sure.
They don't even, just like you said, they end up making the wrong decision, even if they end up making a decision.
Yeah.
That's the thing about that kind of making that career choice at a young age. And I wish in our country, they would actually sit down and advise, letting you know that the decisions you're taking at such a stage would really greatly affect you. And I would say school system played a bigger role because I feel if there was no division of science, commercial, arts, and made us all have access. And if we have the compulsory subjects and then we have the subjective one for not saying if you're in science, you can't do commercial or arts. If you're in arts, you can't do science or commercial. I don't know how I'm going to explain, but it's in my head.
I think what you're trying to say is like overwhelming options.
Yeah, it's short.
It's overwhelming because once you are in science, I think, when we are in science, I was a science student. Being a science student then makes you feel superior than others. Makes you feel
there was this unnecessary pressure.
So that's what I was coming to. It's like pressure. It's that pressure for me.
It was just there because you're supposed to be like
unnecessary competition. Yeah.
You're supposed to be. So the next best people were commercial.
Yes, and you're just play relegated.
So even as much as I loved arts, I loved painting, drawing, literature, all of those things. I said it was an unserious. So those people were not considered, not knowing it seriously. And you see, there's a difference between having an giving you just 3 years to make the choice whether you want to be art science, versus if they started teaching us from JSS 1, we would have had, at least would have spent, let's just say, would have spent the first 2 years trying to test waters, and then
before I think, like you rightly said, schools have a whole lot of a whole lot to play in our decision making when it comes to career. If we're in science or art class or commercial class, just like you rightly said. I remember when I was in Wiri, I did my junior secondary school in Wiri. I went to a government school in Wiri, state government school, and then after your JS1, JS2, your SS1, everybody did everything. Because I knew personally, because I always knew that I was terrible with maths and there was no way I had a future in science. I already knew. I told myself that already from the beginning. But now they made it compulsory. Everybody did. Just like you said, everybody in SS1. So from your results, they are able so now they're able to tell you, okay,
to guide you. That would have been much better.
This is never going to work out for you.
Exactly.
You know. But some of us knew right from time without anybody putting us anywhere. That's what personally
not fit.
I knew that I was not qualified because it was 0 for me. In fact, during the classes for physics and chemistry, I was like, what the hell is this? My first class, I was lost. I remember my first class was physics. I was like, what are these people saying? Like, there's no way this is for me. Exactly. So after my SS1, I had like few classes there before I transferred. I moved over to Abuja and I entered a federal school, Federal Government Girls Buhari. And there, from SS1, they've already divided. So you walk through with the guidance counselor from your JS3, and then when you're resuming SS1, you already know where you're fixed in. So they are able to help you from your JS3 to make that choice.
Unfortunately, already have that option. I wish because then I probably would have known that
from your JS3 to know where you fit in, like where you're going to fit in. So as you're resuming your SS1, you are going to class commercial or arts, commercial or science. You already know. So right from the beginning, as you're resuming, everybody knew. So me, as I got in, I already knew. Although I went to the guidance counselor office and then they worked with your results. So they are going to see your results and it's also see your strong points. That would also help them to make an informed decision for you. So, okay, you're going to be okay here. You're going to do perfect here. So I agree with you that the foundation, these are all the foundation. This is like a step to help you into knowing. So this is just one out of it. So now when you now come out, there are different branches of science. There are different branches of arts. There are different branches of commercial. So you've probably just been able to overcome the first hurdle, the first fear. Oh, okay. Am I making the right choice to be in art, science, or commercial? We are now out. You're now trying to cross over. JAMB, you're deciding.
Seriously, JAMB.
JAMB is another fear. Because JAMB is where you will get to decide, okay, this is it. You have the JAMB brochure, you have everything. We have different voices from everywhere trying to make decisions for you. You have your parents, you have your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, everybody who wants the best for you, your fellow friends and students who are trying to help you make a decision right from the school you are going to go to, the subjects you will pick for the JAMB itself. It's another fear. Do I do this? Okay, assuming this law now I don't get this law. If I pick this course now, this was the second option. That if I pick this courses, these subjects to write in JAMB, if I don't make law, what's the next best thing I'm going to fall back to? So now you start overcoming another type of fear. You start pushing through to all this thing boils down to what you want to do in future or career. These are just
these steps because they were not properly. We were not even picked
to the
proper guidance.
Yes,
because if they had removed this pressure of, because there was this thing of see your mates, they're already in year 1, that like they would have just if they had told us that see, you don't need to put yourself under so much pressure. And writing an exam over and over to be sure is okay. Because if you write the exam and fail, they'll look at you as, yes, how many times do you want me to take this money? How many times? It's like they didn't even say, see, this is something that is going to greatly affect you when you go into your adulthood. You wouldn't have so much time to repeat this process, and it's just a place you don't want to linger. So why don't you take that time instead of always repeating, because you keep repeating the same subject that you're failing because you must pass, instead of, okay, do you know what? You're done with secondary school. What do you want to do? They didn't make it okay for us to say, I don't know, because it was it was, I mean, you're asking children who don't know anything.
You expect them to just...
We don't know how the world properly...
expect them to just make a decision.
They put this kind of pressure on you to decide, this is what you're going to study, this is what you're going to... And you must pass the subjects that will give you permission to enter inside. And I'm supposed to do all of that in one sitting. That's what just... That's till now, and they still do it. They haven't changed. It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous, because there's this thing that they do over there, which I feel we should have been banned. Once of course, because their school setting is different, because from the get-go, they are exposed, and they don't do this division of science, arts, what. But by the time you're done writing your SATs or IELTS or whatever, you have the option, even if you get admission, and the admission was, okay, your scores, of course, was part of the requirement, wasn't your only requirement. Yeah. But even after you've gotten the admission, you can decide to defer it for a year, because you want to take that time to do other things.
Or because you've even started.
Even while you're there, they'll tell you, okay, you don't have to do this as a major. Why don't you do this? Do you see that guidance? We didn't have it. We still don't have it.
Universities don't even have it.
So the only student advice was to separate fights, not to help you with your books.
I didn't even acknowledge the fact of their presence.
I only went there once, and that's because I had a quarrel in my room. So I've never had to.
So sorry. Let's come back home. The thing that I want to say right now is it that the pressure from the parents, or from our peers, or from the Nigerian factor system has a major role to play in this fear?
The Nigerian factor is first pressure, then parents pressure, and they are as a result of the Nigerian factor.
It's a combination of all of us, basically, because it's just a combination.
So what can we do differently? What can the government do different? Because I don't think this government is ready to...
Nigeria as a whole.
For me, definitely space just
overhauling of Nigeria as a whole.
Like
serious overhaul.
Like a revamp.
Serious revamp.
And reorientation, sensitization.
Serious one. Like all of this. You see the guidance you got?
Yeah.
That guidance should start from JSS1, from the get-go. You should be exposed to all subjects.
See, I will even give it to that your school.
I'm telling you that if I had that, I would have been...
It would have...
My eyes would be clear. My love for science would have dwindled a little bit. My strong... because it was already there. It was evident. Like, art was a family thing. But you know, this is how all of us were. That feeling of from first born to last born, we were all strong naturally in the arts. All of us went into science class.
Easy. Because there's this understanding, it just has to be science.
No, because science are the most, the most important prestigious. Thank you. Careers have the doctors, engineers, the architects, geophysics. And then in my family.
And arts, if it's not law, then.
If it's not, thank you. If it's not law,
there's nothing else.
And me, I already knew from the get-go I want to do law.
The commercial,
the funniest thing? The mind I had about law, I don't know why I didn't see it when I was thinking of medicine, because they have a lot of books you're reading in law. It's the same thing. Seriously. But you see, I was more, because of the mentality of us who are not serious, and I don't like law. So I now went,
let me humor you guys.
That's what happened.
Let me humor you guys. In my school, the people that are in art, we not just consider them as the most dullest or dumb people.
It's just, they were not
In my
seen as
school,
serious.
my school happened to be that school that they incorporate the special needs children. That's the blind,
Yeah.
the deaf, and so most of the times, these particular people, they are in art class, and so for the fact that we are seeing those people, oh, these people, they are not complete as us. You understand?
Those understanding you
the
had
people that are in art class, it's people that are not serious, people that
Can
just
imagine,
trying
that's
to
even
feel-
a worse-
So you can imagine
a
that
worse orientation you would
And
have.
as if it's because of the understanding that, okay, science people are the most prestigious. Science class is the only place that you can go, that you have a better opportunity. You have
This was all
You know, right now, I'm glad that the world doesn't just revolve around science.
science zero. And science and art, art has even taken over more than science.
We've evolved.
We've evolved.
We've evolved beyond science and art, doing that dilemma between, it's either science or art. If it's
You see now entertainment is so attractive. Everybody wants to be in the fashion business. Everyone to be an entertainer.
And
Everyone
that's
wants to be a
because some people
filmmaker.
have put it upon themselves to make sure that, okay, we're going to open up and let people know that there's more to this. And if they're going to overhaul the educational system, there are a lot of things that I believe shouldn't be subjects. They should be, what's this thing that we call, it's not coming to my head right now, but there's a particular word for it. That it's not you're going to class. You know how we have,
vocational
skills, vocational. Now, they shouldn't be actual. So, like, when I was in JS class, I don't like technical drawing. I don't think that should have been a subject. That should have fallen.
That's like an arm.
That should have
It's an
fallen
arm of
under
science now.
vocational, because it's
in science.
it's
Because there's this technique.
sorry, TD was in SSF,
Yeah.
Introtech. I believe in
senior secondary.
yes, senior secondary.
Introtech is
technical
junior.
drawing.
Technical
It's junior secondary was Introtech. Now, growing up, like by the time I even got to SS1, I was like, Introtech was just a waste. It was because you still would have gotten the same introduction if you had gotten to SS1, because it was not useful. To me, it wasn't useful, because till today, what did I learn? It's not like they taught me. It should have fallen under a vocational subject where after you've done your main subjects, you now have certain classes that you can now decide to go to, where it would have fallen under things like woodwork. If
Not
you're
just
learning,
woodwork, because there's electrical. Because I remember
yes, everything was falling under.
we have a lab for it. If you see
had a lab
this thing that
had all
those
different
the-
gadgets and
Yeah,
machines.
yeah.
The only thing I learned how to make was a set square and a T-square.
and that's what they teach us there.
And I'm like,
That's the
there's
basic.
more to that than that. Because if you have, they have put it as, okay, it's a club or extracurricular activity.
Yeah.
That is what I'm looking for.
That's true.
Instead of just your regular compulsory classes.
Yeah.
I feel the classes that should have been compulsory, maths, English,
Of course.
biology should have been
Of course, it was. Biology was in.
Those are
Those are the three compulsory subjects.
It wasn't in my school. In my
Biology was
school,
not
biology. By the time biology was by just not to just read, it was called
Integrated science.
Yes. Biology was under science, so it was only
No.
one in my school.
In my school, it was compulsory.
in my
Both
school.
science, art, and
Your school,
commercial.
In my school, we all
taught
science
about
test biology.
Uh,
So you can imagine.
I think biology.
that
no, biology is a compulsory subject. Yes.
So you can see. So even when I was telling my mom that, because if you go back to when our parents went to school, what I'm saying is what they did. They did all of this. My mom did physics, did chemistry. There was nothing like science students, commercial arts. Like they had the exposure, and then they had extracurricular activities where they learned every other thing that shouldn't be subjects, but should just be more like life things, because they don't teach you the real things that matter. At the end of the day, all the work on all the schooling, what's the major thing that's making us do all this thing? Is bills. You have house rent, bills. You have
Okay, so all of this still brings us back
to that.
to the fear of making the right career choice.
Yeah.
So if we're able to overcome all of these fears, I believe each and every one of us, we've actually found a way to overcome some of these fears,
Navigate.
because I know we've not personally,
But even me,
I've not finished. I'm still
I
have not.
yeah, no matter
I am still confused. I am still confused.
I'm still
you
in
will
the
still, it
middle
will still
of
be
it.
there because
So what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? How do we overcome this? First of all, fear, like I said, is a mind thing. If we're able to conquer the mind, the fear, that's one step. I believe that's even the one step, the first step. And then informed decision. I keep saying making an informed decision. How do you make an informed decision? Is to acquire all the necessary knowledge you need. Gather as many knowledge you need as possible. Angel for oneself is like a very good.
It's a very
example to use, because now she's able to make an informed decision for herself for some particular areas. Because what has she done now? She has gathered knowledge from this side, from
everywhere.
She has gathered knowledge.
She's master of
From administration. She has gathered from fashion. She has gathered from
entertainment, everything
you can decide to. So now when you want to make, assuming you want to make a decision based on these three areas that I've mentioned, you're going to make an informed decision because you have gathered the knowledge, you've gathered the required experience. How did you gather that knowledge and experience? You are able to venture into it despite the fear of either making it or not. The fear of regrets, the fear of making the wrong choice. Despite all of that, you still went ahead and you did it. So maybe the first way of overcoming your fear is to actually put your head dive into,
because you can become an information hoarder.
Yes, because you can gather all of those and
You can't really know if until you've put your.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was almost becoming an information hoarder when I gather all the. There's not, if you ask me questions, I'll just be giving you answers.
and then nothing to
But
show for
then
it.
nothing to show because there was still the fear of, do it now. Surely you have gathered,
Nothing.
do the thing. Because you say you want to cook egusi, you've watched all the videos, Hilabasio,
Everybody.
CLU, you've watched everybody's version. Do
You've
you?
not done it yet.
You have not yet done it.
I'm still scared.
I'm still
If I don't
scared.
get
What
it
if I don't
right?
get
I think the oil is too much.
Pick one, just pick one and just do it. Because that's the cocoa of the gathering of the
Exactly.
information. The reason why you're gathering the information is to help you now take the step boldly because you've gathered the knowledge, and then whatever you've gathered now, you should be able to apply it when the challenges now come. But you see, that's just do it. That Nike has been shouting for the past how many years. That's the cocoa. That's where people are like, I still can't take that. The fear is still there. Okay, you've gathered the information. Just, still afraid. Why? Because you're messing with yourself.
That is also me for this litigation lawyer that I decided to come and do and practice. I had the opportunity when I was looking for what to do. Oh, yes, I've done administration. I've gotten experience in administration and other fields. But aside the law that I practice, the practicing I did was just research inside the office practice. But litigation, zero. I had the fear of, what if I go and they will laugh at me? What will I say to the judge? It was a big no for me. Like litigation was a very hefty no. Cynthia, she really saying looking for. I have a friend that is like, no, thank you, I don't want to practice. It was not because I didn't have the interest. I admire a lot of people who do it, but I just had the fear of what will happen to me.
How will it turn out?
I will not be able to. I'm not bold enough to speak before the judge outside. Everybody will be looking at me. People will be listening to me what I'm doing.
What do I make the mistake? What if I speak the wrong thing?
Say something that will make somebody lose.
I still remembered my interview where it's like, no, you cannot be a lawyer and work in this office. You have to. So like when I saw the message informing me that, okay, you have to resume and all of that, take your time and make the decision. I thought like I was staring at myself and fear. Like the fear of failing, the fear of regretting that decision of assuming I decide to join. What's going to happen? All of that fear. I had a very big conversation with myself and the fear. Like we sat down together and we're like, okay, it's either we're doing this or we're not. But you're not going to hold me down. Assuming I tried, and I just went straight because it was really nothing compared to where I was coming from. It was really nothing that you say, okay, so this was just squarely you.
you just being
Just,
afraid of, just
Majority, okay,
taking that step.
there's this course that I've been taking, is science of well-being, and there's something they call the hedonic effects, where your first of all, everything is in your head.
Yeah.
Because majority of the time, in short, they have studies that they've done over the years. Majority of the time, what you're imagining in your head never plays out.
Exactly.
Don't go.
Right.
So when you're like, okay, how do they ask some students, okay, how would you feel if you don't pass your exams? Oh, a lot of them said, on the scale of 1 to 10, where would you be? I'll be like on a 2, on a 3. I would be so sad. When they did the exam, those who passed, they also asked those who passed, they'll be so happy. They'll be like, like 8, 9. Both those who did not pass plus those who passed, when they asked them, so how do you feel now? Did you pass? I didn't do so well. So how do you feel on the scale of 1 to 10? I feel like a 5. Those who passed, how do you feel? I feel like a 6. They were practically on the same. So what you had imagined
Didn't play out.
never
Not
played
even,
out.
it's like what you imagine versus the reality. And that's bringing me back to the first question I asked, that they're taking this career path and the eventuality, the reality. How can we overcome it generally?
The only way is just to put everyone head first by experience. So that's why extracurricular activities are very important. They have this idea, and if they keep doing it in schools, like I said the last episode, how about clubs and how they're exposed already to these things. That is what gives them the courage and drives the fear. At least not all of it, but most that decision, it won't be so hard for them to take.
Let's take it back to Angel at 10, Cynthia at 10, making decision for ourselves. We have young, I want to believe that there are young listeners right now. How will a child of 10 years be able to, have an informed decision? I know he's a child, he's still growing, but at least can be specific about what he or she wants to do. And how will parents help them? I would have shared a story.
The thing is, for children like that, that's where parents come in. Being able to, first of all, the kind of school you send your kids to, it's going to play a whole lot of role in this. Secondly, what you expose your children to early enough, informed, will help make an informed decision for the kids and also as the parents. Because if you're not keeping yourself abreast with what's going on with the happenings or the reality of life as a parent, you'll not be able to help make an informed decision about your child's future. So the parents, on one hand, they also need to open themselves up to learn, to be able to help direct their kids. And not just for yourself, you're also opening your kids. There are a lot of, just like, imagine opening your child to a podcast like this from a young age. So luckily, there are a lot of this out there that will help kids make an informed decision for every level of their life. So when you get to open them up like this, there are books to help prepare you for the future. So for parents, this, I think a whole lot is on our shoulder for as adults and, to help direct the younger ones. So when you open them to a lot of activities that would help them, just like Angel mentioned, extracurriculum. So they have boot camps. They have activities outside of schools. They have, during the holidays, they have a lot of, classes that would help. In my church, they used to have this, I've forgotten the title then, for during the long vacation, for children, for kids, for the children department. It helps, like they have different sections. So it helps build them up mentally. It helps prepare them up mentally. So that when that time comes, the fear is like reduced. So this is also going to help.
All right. We've had it all. For you to overcome your fear, you start by first self-evaluation. You reflect inward and outward. After that, you do research. acquire the right skill on what your tendency is portraying. Let me just put it that way. What's your tendency? I believe as a child, there's always this tendency for you to tilt toward one part. So the earlier you do self-evaluation and you reflect inward, you will be able to find the answer to the question you're asking yourself. I believe you've learned one or two things from this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you from all of us here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.